Well, hey there, NSA Carolina friends. This is Kevin Snyder, and I wish I could be with you today. I'm here in the virtual studio back in Raleigh, North Carolina. I got back late last night from a couple speaking engagements, and I just had to be here with the family today. But look, I'm thrilled that you all are taking the time to invest in yourself and in your future book or books currently to learn how to better leverage them and position yourself as a professional speaker. So you've got a full day of some great content. It's the Golden Corral of buffet, so I hope you're gorging yourself, but you're also taking some things home that you're going to be able to work on and apply. So look, as many of you know, I've published 2 books. I've written a book called Think Differently to Achieve Success. I first wrote that in 2007. It still is my #1 book. It's timeless. And I also have the book Paid to Speak, which is a speaker training book. And many of you I know have that. Some of what I'm going to talk about today about helping leverage your books for speaking and how speaking can actually sell books is going to be module 4 of Paid to Speak. So I'm going to focus on that a little bit. But look, what I've learned over the years with professional speaking, I didn't know this at the very beginning, but so much of professional speaking, in my opinion, is about how we position ourselves. If you're taking notes, I'd write that down. It's how you position yourself as a professional speaker. And one of the ways that you're going to have to position yourself is you got to ask yourself this question: what differentiates me? Because a conference planner, an executive, a meeting organizer, a speaker's agent, a bureau, whoever is hiring the speaker, they have options. Yes or yes? Of course, they always have options. Even if they're reaching out to you and they're like, hey, you're our person, but if it's a committee, they're still likely going to be looking at other speakers as well. So what makes you stand out, right? In person or virtually. But as it relates to differentiation, one of the things that definitely can help a professional speaker stand out, keyword professional, is having a book. Literally, just simply having a book. I've had multiple engagements where they said, you know what, when it got down to the top 3, the top 5, the committee felt all 3 or 5 speakers could have really delivered what we were looking for, but you were the only person with the book. You're the only person that really had the extra credibility that we thought would be a good fit for our event. So if you're wondering, hey, should I actually invest the time, invest the money, right? And by the way, publishing a book doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's more about time than anything. But for those of you who are maybe still questioning if you're on the fence, you got to ask yourself, what's my long-term goal? And if it's speaking or training, anything with presenting, if you don't have a book, you are leaving thousands on the table every single engagement, every single contract. And in fact, you're going to be missing out on contracts. So the answer is you absolutely have to have a book. And I would make it one of your top priorities. In fact, I would list it, make sure you've got a great speech, right? Because the #1 aspect of a speaking business, in my opinion, from my experience, is having a great speech. You got to be referable. #2, then I'd focus on website. Then I'd focus on demo video. Then I'd focus on a marketing packet or a speaker 1 page, mine's 7. Then I'd focus on a book. I would do in my experience working with people, that's the order in which I would do it. But I would say, look, you can do all that within the next 6 months. And if you have a copy of Paid to Speak, you actually know at the very end of the book, I've got a bonus module on how to actually write and publish a book in 90 days. It is absolutely possible. I've done it, and you can do it too. So let me walk you through some real tangibles here on what are some ways that I leverage my book for speaking and my speaking actually sells some books. Are you ready? Well, the first thing I do is I make sure that my book is featured on my website. So when people go there, whether they're considering me or they just need some information from an upcoming event, guess what? They see that I've actually got a book on my website. And what I have is a opt-in, a pop-up opt-in on my website that now allows them to do what? To actually get a copy of my book. And it's free. It's a PDF, right? It doesn't give them a print copy. I'm not going to do that. But what this does, my friends, is it allows me to give them an opportunity to receive something from me, and all they've got to do is put their email in. So not only does this help me get the engagement, It also helps me get and really build a subscriber list. And what I do is I send out, all those emails go to my MailChimp account, and there's other platforms like Constant Contact and others, but I use MailChimp for a couple different reasons, where now they're opted in with me and connected with me in perpetuity until they opt out, or unless they opt out. So that's one way I leverage my book to get the speaking engagement. Okay, but also when I do have the engagement, here's some other things I do. I actually 2 or 3 times strategically, I make a comment in my presentation. This is actually a slide that I actually presented yesterday to NCACPA. How about that as an acronym? The the North Carolina Association of CPAs, where I was talking about the importance of mindset and think differently, right? I just used a quote from my book. And boom, next slide. QR codes are back, right? You can get your complimentary copy. And if you don't have a scanner on your phone or your phone's not out, you can just go to my website, kevincSnyder.com. Just make sure you type Snyder in correctly, or else it goes to some guy in Georgia who hates me. And that's what I say. So it actually builds some humor. But guess what? I see people doing it on their phone, right? Or I got their phones out. And I let them know also they're going to get a copy of the slide deck. I also let them know they're going to see this image at the end of my program as well. I don't do it. It's not gimmicky. It's not gimmicky at all. It's actually adding more value. And if my presentation's good, guess what they're going to want? So let me show you an example of this. This is what the opt-in looks like. Every single email that, or every single opt-in is an individual email. So one of the ways that I gauge actually is my presentation effective? Was I any good? It's not what I think, right? It's how many people actually subscribed to my website once I was done. And this is a strategy I use to evaluate myself, regardless of what the meeting planner thought or whoever. But when I see this waterfall of opt-ins on my email, guess what? Slay the dragon. Kevin did pretty good in that presentation. But more importantly, I added value to them. It's all about the value. If I was good, it's because I added value, right? And this is also a long game approach. So books are both short game and long game approach. And the long game here is now these people are connected with me. All right? So that's how I get the engagement in the moment, but also in the future. Because catch this, I'd write this down too. They select the speaker by ruling everyone else out. Hopefully you've already got that one. They don't need a speaker until they need a speaker. So what are you doing to stay on top of mind 6 months later, a year and a half later? Most of my engagement now are coming from the work I did a year ago or 2. My August was the best month I've ever had in the history of my speaking. 90% of it came from referrals, from people who I stayed in touch with. And I'm not even that good at sending out my e-newsletter. I'm not even that good, but I still did it occasionally. So, happy to do a little Q&A with you in just a moment. But what I also want to do now is show you exactly how I leverage my books in my speaking contracts, actually in my engagements. I'll put in the chat right now, I'll actually put a little link to, you can download my speaker packet. This is how I do my proposals and how I leverage my book in my proposals, okay? So, click that link. I think it's page 4 or 5 in my speaker packet where you can see how I do this. And this is what you're going to be looking at right here. So when somebody reaches out to me and they're asking, hey, we just need a speaker. What's your fee? Or we're talking about fee. I always focus on fit, right? If there's a fit, we'll make the logistics work. And logistics, i.e. money, right? I'll do the best I can to work with reasonable budgets. But usually they're only asking me about what? About option 1. That's all they think, right? That's all that they need, right? Well, here's my option 1, the top left here. It's a keynote, right? Well, that's option 1. But in my proposal, which is my packet, by the way, those two are the same thing. I don't have a separate proposal. My proposal is my speaker packet because I want them to see all the other things that are going into it. And if you look at my speaker packet, I think you're going to be pretty impressed how much, hopefully, the credibility that you see. So when they get to this point, they're like, we need this guy, right? Well, then what you see here in option 2 is I also throw in an additional program or a workshop and some books. Usually it's only 50. And then a book signing session. Now, already, I'm not upselling. I'm adding more value. And that's what professionals do. They add more value, okay? Now, let's go into option 3 here. Okay. Option 3 is the Lexus, right? It's what everybody wants. They're like, wow, we could actually get you to do more than just a presentation and a breakout. You could actually be part of our MC. You could actually be part of our award ceremony. You're going to come in earlier and just be part of our event, right? I'm going to throw in more copies of my book, and depending on what I think their budget is or what their budget is, I might even give a book for everybody. But look at that. Autographed copies, right? Unlimited ebook and audiobook download for every single attendee and anyone throughout their entire organization. How about that? I already have that set up on a private website on my kevincsnyder.com. It's already there. And it's what I give everybody who buys it. $2,500 on top of that, right? They have to buy it to get the link. They don't know the link, it's a private link. So that's how I do that. Also, we're going to talk about this in a moment, customized books with their organizational logo on the inside front cover. I mean, that, my friends, is beautiful. So imagine think differently as an audience member, okay? You've got this, and you open up the book to read it, and it actually has, instead of this, it actually has the organization's logo with a welcome message from the CEO or the conference planner, the team, whoever, and then I autograph that, or I autograph this page, but it's actually a customized book. You might be thinking, well, how the heck do you do that? I've got a good relationship with my publisher. But you also have to be a KDP. You have to be an author with KDP. Or Ingram actually does it for an additional $1 per book. Okay? So there are ways of doing it. And my time's short with you today. So if you have questions about that, ask me in the Q&A. But a customized book, differentiation. Let me tell you something. Differentiation. Okay? Then I also add in option 3 a pre-event welcome video. They get a copy of my slide deck and even a pre-event or post-event podcast, webinar, or an article. So, I mean, when you're comparing speakers, think about this as the meeting planner. You got the red pill and the blue pill, right? Red pill matrix, blue pill matrix. Who would you pick if their price was the same? You go with this person for sure, right? So I hope that's you in the future. That's how I've been able to build my speaking business, was having 3 options and knowing how to leverage my freaking book. And not just saying I've got a book, but how do I do the unlimited download, right? How do I do the Kindle promo day? How do I do the customized book, right? Things like that. So it's not just having a book, it's knowing how to leverage it professionally. So anyway, I hope I'm delivering some value for you. Let me show you now a couple samples of that customized book, and then we'll be done, okay? This is really what I found to be very unique. Most speakers don't know how to do it. Here's a sample. This is from Orkin. When they brought me in, the pest control company, this was that inside front cover. That's what that looks like. You open it up, boom, right? Here's another one. This was a bank I spoke to, Bancorp South. Right? And they actually signed it. I didn't even sign it. They did. They're two VPs. Here's another one from a conference. I've done dozens of these, my friends, dozens of them, where I wasn't just able to get the speaking engagement, but I was able to actually add more value. And that's one of the things you're going to have to do is kind of wrap your head around. You're not upselling, you're adding more value. And when we finally do the contract, let me add one more thing. When we finally do the contract, anything that they didn't get, I put a strike through on it, on the contract. So when they're finally signing the dotted line, or that goes up to their decision maker to sign the dotted line, guess what? They're seeing all the things they could get that they're opting not to get. And what do you think happens about 50% of the time? About 50% of the time, they actually come back to me and they say, well, actually, how many books could we get? Or, how much is a book, each one? Or how do we can we just do the customized book? That was really cool. Just had this happen with another bank. Added $1,500 to the contract. And look, this is what I do professionally. So for me, when I think of my family, my kids, if I can add more value, great. But I also want to be able to pay my light bill, without having a question. I don't have problems paying my light bill, but you get my point. This is about business. So look, in the chat, I'll put again the link to download my speaker packet. I'd encourage you to do it. If you want to send me an email, I've got an away message still set up on my email, well, depending when you're writing this. And on my signature, I've got my website link and my speaker packet. And if you email me, you're going to see how I leverage my book even in my away message. But also, if you go to my website, you can actually enter your email to see how I send out the PDF copy. And then I'd encourage you to do that. Opt out if you want right after that. But look, use what I'm doing as a model so that you can figure out your style as well. Okay? And as I mentioned, Paid to Speak this is module 4 in Paid to Speak. There's a lot more in module 4. You're just getting a few minutes of it. But look, module 4 is all about, when we talk about how to build a speaking business, I mean, having a great speech, that's a prerequisite, y'all. How do I actually run a business? And a book is a big part of that. And at the end of the book, you get this bonus module on how to write a book in 90 days and get it published. Okay, so look, that's my info. I look forward to getting your questions. Honored to be part of your journey, to help you and support you in any way I can. My email is kevin@kevincsnyder.com. Just spell my name right. All right? Okay. Take care, y'all. Honored that you're part of this event, and look forward to meeting you and seeing you again soon.